Hello, my dear Franken friends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen. How horrible of you to join us. Curl up, invite your friends, and by all means, make sure those lights are out. That way it's harder to tell what may or may not be lurking around you. There's nothing like a good mystery, am I right? Tonight we'll feature a singular tale of devilish design curated by those wicked weavers of woe. And without further ado, allow me to pass the reins on over to our vivacious voiceover virtuoso, Trey Falco, for tonight's sinister story. Please keep all limbs and side covers at all times. We wouldn't want anything to go missing now, would we?
It's been a while since my last update, so I apologize for that. I've been busy with work lately and have been unable to post here. But with that in mind, I have some good stories to share for you today. One of the guards from my company named Gary was outsourced to a small secretive organization for a short project. The details of the project were undisclosed, but the guard who volunteered for this job had to stay in a remote facility close to a small town for 1 month. Now, the organization was pretty shady since they had military personnel guarding the facility and scientists running around, which raised the question of whether a guard was even needed there. Immediately upon arrival, the superiors explained his duties to him. The guard was free to do anything he wanted all day, but once a day at lunchtime, he would need to distribute mint candy to everyone on the facility and make sure they ate it. Everyone, including himself. He was to make sure the mint was ingested by inspecting each individual's mouth upon swallowing, and anyone who refused was to be reported to the superiors. Gary laughed at this initially, but when the superiors assured him that the task is of utmost importance, he knew better than to screw around. Gary followed the rules and made sure to have everyone eat mint every day, which caused him to be shunned by the project participants, since no one knew why they had to do it. Towards the end of the project, however, some people started complaining about frequent headaches. Those same people were later exposed as ones who didn't ingest the mint properly. They were detained for insubordination. And something else happened in the meantime, however, and the company lost contact with the facility. Among all people, Gary managed to contact the company with a simple text message that said, "Something wrong, send help now." An intervention unit was dispatched right away, but it would be 3 days until they reached the remote area. Before they did, however, HQ continued trying to contact Gary and the facility asking what happened. After days of radio silence, they only got one short text. "Everything okay?" When the intervention unit arrived, everyone at the facility was dead. Details were undisclosed. There was a security guard in our company who primarily worked as a driver. His job was to transport company-related equipment like weapons, cameras, uniforms, etc. from one facility to another. Now this sounds like a normal day-to-day job, right? Wrong. As the driver, he took a route which went via an old road and saved a lot of time, but he had a bunch of rules that he had to follow. Before he was hired, he had a simulation of the drive in order to see if he can follow all the rules. And here are the rules as listed by HQ below. Start driving at exactly 9 p.m. when the alarm in the vehicle goes off. Not a minute sooner, not a minute later. Keep all doors locked at all times and keep your seatbelt off for a quicker exit in case of an emergency. The road is straightforward and there are no turns, so if you see a forking in the road, turn your vehicle around immediately and go back to HQ. Do not stop for any hitchhikers under any circumstances, even if they are in fatal trouble. If you see headlights suddenly appearing behind you, speed up. Ignore any sounds from the back of the vehicle. You may hear banging, growling, or clattering. Don't stare at the rearview mirror for longer than 3 seconds at a time. If you see something running along with your vehicle on the side of the road, ignore it no matter how close it is and speed up. It should disappear within 5 minutes. If your vehicle's engine dies, close your eyes, try to stay calm, and start the engine again. Ignore any tapping on the windows and do not look at them. Once you go over the yellow line on the road, which is 24 miles from the starting point, you're in the clear. Despite seeing all of this in the past few years of his work, he says he wouldn't trade his job for anything in the world. A guy named Ethan told me about his experience working in the morgue. Now, working in a morgue is bad enough as it is, but working in a morgue outsourced to my company is hell. His job was to take over once the staff were done there at 10 p.m. and just make sure no one got in or out. He quit after only a month due to the mental stress he experienced during his time there. He says the company allowed him to do whatever he wanted there, including sleep. However, it wasn't advised, and you'll understand why in a moment. Ethan said that on a good night, he'd hear people screaming from the body chambers, begging to be let out, and that they were placed there by mistake. While there was no strict rule about opening the chambers, it would probably be nerve-wracking to do so. The problem, however, was that once the bodies started screaming, the only way to stop them was to pull out the chamber. Immediately upon coming into view, Ethan would be faced with a...
Sorry for the interruption, dear listener, but I just had to remind you. If you're enjoying this series, then make sure you head on over to Amazon and pre-order the book from this talented author, Tales of a Security Guard, set to release on January 30th. Seriously, take the time to pause this video and go give it a look-see. Without these authors, our vivacious voiceover virtuoso would be picking pennies out of the couch to feed his family instead of narrating these amazing stories. At least now he has a hobby. I mean, would you take that away from him? I didn't think so. Not only does it include the 12-part series that you're watching right now, but it also includes the Night Guard series that we've previously narrated on this channel, and more terrifying tales to fuel your insomnia-induced night readings. And while you're at it, make sure you head on over to their Facebook page, Scary Stories with BB, to keep up to date with everything that they're doing. And I'd also like to mention that this author is not our sponsor, nor have we been paid in any way to bring you this message. No. We here at Spookyou just want to remind you, our listeners, that the authors behind these wonderful stories need to eat too. And not only that, but they do deserve to be compensated for the work that they do. That about wraps it up for this break, so back to your story.
Immediately upon coming into view, Ethan would be faced with a cold, dead, unmoving body, and silence would return to the room. He said that often when reading something or getting sleepy, he'd feel a strong grip on his shoulder or hear a loud boo in his ear. There would never be anything around though, but you can see why sleeping there would be impossible. He'd often see a body chamber pulled out on his way back from the bathroom, and if that were the case, his job was to push it back in immediately. There were some other rules, but all in all, what made him quit was a man in a lab coat he constantly kept seeing in the morgue. The company told him to never address the man, since no morgue workers were there after 10 p.m. Ethan made the mistake of talking to him on his first shift, and then every subsequent night, the man would silently follow him, always at the same distance and never talking, just staring at him. Another guard who worked in a factory complex with a partner told me a story. He said that he'd been working there for about 2 months before things got weird. At the start of each shift, he'd meet up with his partner and they'd take turns patrolling. The first month, his partner kept complaining of severe insomnia and fatigue, and then one day just came to work completely fresh. The guy who told me the story said he jokingly told his partner he may have been looking at another person with such a sudden change. The working area was pretty desolate and HQ would rarely contact them. They'd just have them submit reports weekly and that's it. But 2 months after this guy started working there, HQ contacted the guy and told him to bear working alone for just a few more nights, since there's a new guard on the way. The guy asked, "What do you mean just a few more nights? I already have a partner here." HQ went silent for a moment before saying that his partner was found dead at his home a month ago. As soon as they told him that, as if on cue, he stopped seeing his partner altogether. He said that he saw a change of at least 5 more guards in the following year.
Welcome back, my darling deviants. Well, tell me, did you enjoy that twisted tale? Of course you did. I knew you had that air about you, that hunger for the horrific and the macabre. So, did we spook you? If not, then file a complaint with our complaint department detailing all accounts of non-spookiness you found in this video, and we'll get back to you in 2 to 3 millennia. Give or take a business eon or two. However, if you've enjoyed what you've just heard this evening, then make sure you leave a like on this video and annihilate that subscribe button. Such a small act of obedience is exactly what we need to put the food on the table around here. There's only so many days we can have refried kidney and toe jam hash before I'm absolutely sick of it. Spoiler alert, that ship sailed long ago. Now, I must bid you adieu. I've many things to take care of, and this outro is eating into my day off. Run along now. Have no fear, we'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday to bring you another terrible tale. Go forth, my ghastly gang, and stay spooky.